14 goals scored. But the statistic that really matters if you support Ipswich Town is that 3 points finally moved your team out of the bottom three.
For 4 months, Town have been stuck in a rut, but things finally seem to be looking up. Kate Riley has news on that and the rest of this weekend's sport.
Ipswich fans could be forgiven for thinking Christmas had come early. No sooner had they settled into their seats, Blackpool presented gift number one, John Stead grabbing the opener after 29 seconds. That combined with efforts from Jack Colback and Gareth McCauley handed Ipswich a 3-1 win. And more importantly, they've moved out of the basement for the first time this season.
Well, it's nice because we felt we were almost got to the last few weeks when we had obviously we won a Cardiff and a few draws, and but we've obviously been stuck there now for a number of months. So mentally, yeah, it's important, but it's more important that we kick on and keep this run going and get some more wins under our belt.
Joy for Ipswich, but it looks like a bleak winter for Peterborough. They've not won in 7 league games after losing at Coventry. In League One, Milton Keynes Dons got a much-needed win against Leyton Orient. But it's Norwich making the headlines. A 3-3 draw at Yeovil made it 8 league games unbeaten. They remain third ahead of Colchester, who won on Friday on goal difference. And don't rule out Southend making a playoff charge if they show spirit like this. They came back from 2-0 down against Hartlepool to win 3-2. And in League Two, Northampton Town had an Adebayo Akinfenwa penalty to thank for a point at home to Port Vale. Finally, our other big winners this weekend were Northampton Saints, running in 4 tries, including 2 from Chris Ashton, to defeat Italian side Treviso 30-18 in Rugby Union's Heineken Cup. Kate Riley, BBC Look East.
And if you missed any of the goals this weekend, you can see them all by going to bbc.co.uk/football.
Now, Look East Unplanned. If you've missed it, Unplanned does what it says on the tin. It's Mike Liggins, a cameraman, and no research. No change there.
Anything can happen, and normally does. Today, Mike was in Cambridgeshire, and it was another early start.
Just waiting to go on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire's Peterborough. It's Monday morning, it's Unplanned, and I'm just waiting to go on a walk.
TV, not as easy as it looks. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire has 2 breakfast programmes, one for Peterborough.
Where can Mike Liggins go today to film something Christmassy? It needs to be a good story.
And one for Cambridge, hosted by the lovely Jeremy Salis. One of his listeners suggests we find an unusual monument in the village of Impington.
Next exit.
We're just trying to find a column in a field. Go on.
Go down to the traffic lights
Yep.
that are there, turn right, and then turn left, and then turn left again, and keep going until you see...
A Look East viewer helps us on our way, and after trudging across a muddy field, we find the monument to Elizabeth Woodcock. In 1799, she fell over and was buried in the snow for 8 days and died. A cheery Christmas tale, I think you'll agree, which is why we're happy to hear about some knitted nativity figures from the Arbury estate in Cambridge. The Arbury has had its problems over the years, but now Vicar David Marr is doing his best to bring the community together. He has 2 knitted figures of Mary and Joseph, which are touring the parish on his motorbike.
It's based on a Mexican idea of a posada, where the figures of Mary and Joseph are taken into different homes around the community to share fellowship and friendship and spend the night.
David also tells us about the Orchard Park Primary School, where they're having a stay and play session. Like the Arbury, Orchard Park has had its problems, but is now beginning to thrive.
I thought it was a good idea, families learning together and...
How's your sticking on and cutting out?
Yeah, I think it's a fun activity and we are enjoying it. She's teaching me a few things.
So in that very unplanned way, we find a community pulling together. And if you can't do it at Christmas, when can you? Let's just hope the glue dries before Christmas, hey? So I can put my arms down.
And tomorrow Mike will be in Essex on the BBC Essex Breakfast Show with Ray Clark. That's about 8:15. You can also follow him on Twitter.
Let's get the weather with Jules.
Thanks very much, Susie. Well, we're going to stay in Cambridgeshire. In fact, in Cambridge itself, this was the market earlier this afternoon under rather grey skies, but looking very festive. And having worked on a market stall myself, I know at this time of year you really do start to layer up and make sure you're wearing some thermal insulation. You'll certainly need to do that if you're on a market stall over the next few days, because